Network presents the Morning Report with Rachel Baird and Ed Peruta. I'm Rachel Baird, and seated to my left, your right, is Ed Peruta. We do the Morning Report every Monday through Thursday from 7 to 7:30 a.m. here from our American News Media Center studio in Harwinton, Connecticut. We also do a show on Saturdays, Summary Judgment, from 4 to 6 p.m., where we're joined by co-host Matt Tiska. Ed, you just mentioned that you do not want to do a morning show tomorrow. You'd rather do an evening show.
I believe that tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, that we should be on the air and we should be watching the results, because in Eastern time zone, when the polls close, either at 7 or 8 o'clock, you have some battleground states, Pennsylvania.
So anybody who's a Trump voter and is thinking, well, I can't get there until between 7 and 8, don't listen to him, because the polls are open till 8, okay?
Are they open till 8 in Connecticut?
Yeah, 6 to 8. 6 a.m. to 8 p.m.
I didn't know that. Okay.
I'm going to double check now.
Okay. Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Florida. I guess you could throw Virginia in. But there's some very important states in the Eastern time zone that are going to play in who's going to win, who's going to lose.
But if the numbers come out from the East Coast, or start to come out, that Donald Trump is winning in a landslide, we're not going to say anything about it, because we don't want people on the West Coast not to vote because they think it's already in the bag,
well,
right?
Okay, so I think we have to decide, do we come in and do a show tomorrow morning? Or do we come in tomorrow night, or do we do both? I would prefer to do the evening show, and we'll call it the evening report instead of the morning report.
Okay, well, we're going to make a decision, but I have a feeling we're going to be here tomorrow morning.
Okay, we're here tomorrow morning.
What do you think about the news that came out yesterday about the conclusion of the FBI investigation? I got to tell you, I have a client whose computers were seized over a year ago, and they still haven't had an opportunity to look through them or go over everything or to conclude their investigation. They must have been working around the clock at the FBI to conclude that investigation, analyzing everything, going. There must have been no leads that popped up from the emails they saw. That it didn't lead to anything else. It must have just been, are you coming to dinner on Sunday? Yes, I'll be there for dinner. It must have just been routine stuff like that to get through it so fast and not have to follow up on anything. What do you think, Ed?
I believe that there is a lot that we don't know yet. Now, the reason that I say that is there is this unwritten or agreed upon policy and practice of not announcing things prior to an election. And they say that the head of the FBI broke that policy and practice when he announced that they were going to look again at Clinton emails. But what else was there that he could have said and didn't say because of the quote-unquote policies and practices of not announcing things before an election?
How old is the FBI director?
He looks like he's in his 40s.
I got to tell you, in about 10 years, somebody is going to pay that man
a fortune,
a lot of money, to reveal in a book, probably,
what was going on.
Oh, if he's still alive. If he's not concerned for his family and everyone else at that point. And I don't know if that'll ever go away. I think that man probably is very concerned about his safety and the safety of his family.
Well, I have to tell you, I did watch a segment of 60 Minutes last night with a guy named Lunn, who's a polling, psychological, does things for the media organizations. And he put together...
I get it. When I was a kid, I wanted to be that. When people would ask me, what do you want to do when you grow up? I said, I want to be a polling, psychological, media person. I never achieved that dream. But let me live vicariously through this gentleman.
He put together a group of people that he said was a cross-section of the country. Trump supporters, Hillary supporters, and he started asking questions. And a lot of things that he said or they revealed, the group revealed, are exactly what I've been saying, is they're pissed at everybody. And no matter what happens tomorrow, and it is tomorrow, there's going to be people in this country that are not going to accept the outcome of the election.
That's been said before, though, and we always get past it. We do. I mean, that was said with Obama when he was elected. Well, I remember when Jimmy Carter was elected, it was like the end of the world for a lot of conservative and Republican. I mean, it really was. Like you woke up that morning and there was like doom in the house. And to a certain extent, people were right. It was not a good 4 years. Now, whether that was Jimmy Carter's fault or not, I don't know. But it was not a good 4 years.
Yeah, I think a mortgage on a house was 18% interest.
Yeah. But we got through it. We got past it. But how many things like that do you get past?
Here is the difference. And the people that are watching this or may watch this in recorded form, this, I think, is the game changer. The United States Supreme Court. That is a game changer. Is the United States Supreme Court. If, in fact, let's just say the Democrats have a very good Tuesday, November 8th, and they get the House, and they get the Senate, and they have the White House, the country will experience what Connecticut is experiencing with a Democratic governor, a Democratic Senate, and a Democratic House, and a bankrupt budget.
There will be no more need for incrementalism. In other words, up until now, with the Second Amendment, there's been incrementalism to chip away at it a little bit at a time so that if you oppose anything, you're looked at as some sort of outlier. But they're not going to need to do that anymore. They're just going to be able to say the Supreme Court, when Scalia was there, was wrong. In Heller, it was wrong. In McDonald, it won't be the first time that a subsequent case has completely overruled a previous case. I mean, the Supreme Court ruled that slavery was okay at one point, and then that was overturned. There is little doubt that the Supreme Court will say that Heller and McDonald were wrong, and that the Second Amendment does not apply to individuals. Please, unless you're law enforcement, turn in your guns.
And
there's a lot of people who don't see anything wrong with that, by the way.
That may not be something that the American people see on the evening of November 8th, 2016. It may not even be something that they see in the year 2017. But I predict that if Hillary Clinton is successful tomorrow, that there will be planned retirements on the Supreme Court bench. People will put in their paperwork to say, okay, now I can safely leave my seat on the Supreme Court because it will be filled with the ideology that I have by another person.
I was trying to get away from, not get away from, but I was watching something totally, I thought, unrelated to the situation at hand right now with the election coming up tomorrow. And so I received a notification from Netflix that there's a new series out on Netflix called Too Young to Die. and it's about various actors and actresses that have died young for various reasons. And so I was watching season 1, episode 16 about Philip Seymour Hoffman. You know who he is, right? He did a fine job portraying Truman Capote, and he did a lot of other roles, and he was a great actor.
He did a lot of cocaine and drugs too.
Well, maybe he didn't do any more than anybody else.
But he was clean for years.
But you know what? If you use it once at the wrong time, then that's it, right? It doesn't matter if you used it 100 times or twice before. So who knows? I don't know.
Right.
But he died in 2014. He was only 46, and I thought I was just going to be watching a documentary about him. Well, I guess after the Gore-Bush election in 2000. He was asked to be in a documentary about politics, and he went around and interviewed different politicians. And the person who was producing the documentary, an actor named Donovan Leitch, I don't really know what he does, but I've heard of him. And he said they were interviewing these politicians, and then Donovan Leitch came on in the narrative, and I wrote it down. And this is quoted right from the episode. He said, politics, and this is in the year 2000, okay, 16 years ago. Politics is run by corporations, and the corporations control the lobbyists, and the lobbyists control the politicians, and the people very rarely get to have a say in what is going on, because it is a rigged system. Now that's what he said back in the year 2016. And the difference now is that with Hillary Clinton, you have a combination of the corporations, the lobbyists, and the politician. Her and the Clinton Foundation, they have achieved a synthesis, you
Nirvana.
might say. Yeah, of all three of these factors. In other words, Hillary's not controlled by the lobbyists and the corporations. She is the lobbyists and the corporations.
It's political nirvana.
And the system, I love that. 2000, they're talking about the system being rigged. No difference now. At some point, how long can people keep saying the system is rigged until somebody says, I can't live with the rigged system anymore? How long does it go on? Does it go on for the next 100 years where everybody knows that we're living with the rigged system, but nobody does anything about it? How long can that go on?
1,000 people walk into a national forest and go camping. It only takes one careless match to start a wildfire.
Smokey Bear. Not
Right.
Smokey the Bear, it's
Smokey Bear. But it only takes one either careless or intentional match to start a forest fire. And I believe that the rigged system theory that you're talking about, when does someone say, I can't live in a rigged system? Will that one match be struck? And I think that once the match is struck, and I don't know, don't ask me what it's going to be, how it's going to be, but there's going to be something that's going to happen that is going to galvanize the public, and our government will change.
I mean, the Democrats could not have been more strategically off base in choosing Hillary Clinton, because she is the radical, and I don't mean in political sense, but the radical that will inflame the other side. If they would have just picked a run-of-the-mill Democrat, then things could have gone on for a little bit longer the way they are. But Hillary Clinton is equivalent to the political system. I mean, kind of like what
Nero may be elected tomorrow.
Yeah, and I want to make a comparison,
Caligula.
but I don't because I think it's a little too controversial. But she is the match. I mean, she is.
She is.
Why didn't they just choose another camper that, would go into the woods and be safe, to follow along with your analogy, but further the agenda?
In Second Amendment jargon, when the firing pin hits the primer, the gunpowder explodes.
I mean, she is so divisive.
And on this,
I find it hard to believe there wasn't another Democrat, and I'm not talking about Bernie Sanders, because that man is just sad. I mean, that is a sad, sad man. To reach that age and know that this is it, and this is what it's all about. And it doesn't matter if you burn bridges, it doesn't matter what happens anymore. Go for it. To reach that age and to act like he acted in a weak manner. He is just a sad, sad, sad person.
In that 60-minute segment with that group of people that were put into the room, they collectively, on each side, said exactly what you just said. They said, the Republicans that were supporting Trump, they could have picked and should have picked a better candidate. The Democrats, they should have and they could have, they should have picked a different candidate.
I disagree with them about Trump. Because by better candidate, what they mean is a Republican that will continue to march lockstep with the Democrats.
Right.
So no, I disagree from that point of view. But from the Democrat point of view, good. I'm glad you picked Hillary. I am.
And then
because you have shown what you are.
And then
when that judge in the Sixth Circuit came out and said, I don't know if assault weapons, are dangerous or not, but the fact of the matter is if people think they're better off with assault weapons, then let's better off without assault weapons and feel safer. Then let's just ban them. It's that kind of logic. It's that kind of logic that leads to the road to destruction. It's putting somebody like Hillary in that is so blatantly divisive that is going to lead to the road to destruction. At least try to be a little smart about it when you make these decisions. I mean, Judge, at least try to make some argument.
I have said this previously. There is a very large, intense demonstration going on as we speak over the Dakota pipeline. And the media is not covering it. The media is not covering it. Now, they embed someone with an Iraqi force going into whatever the city is, Mosul or whatever it is in Iraq. Mosul, okay? But there is no...
But the French might pronounce it that way.
Yeah, there is no really media intense coverage of what's going on in the Dakotas over this pipeline. But there's some very intense emotions and political beliefs and environmental beliefs up there in that area. You had the Bundy situation out in the Southwest and in the Northwest, okay? There are things that are happening. You had Ferguson. You had people were predicting that Chicago would go up in flames when Ron Emanuel released that videotape of the individual being shot. It may not happen because it's wintertime, it snows out, it's cold, and people want to stay in where it's warm. But on a hot summer night in 2017, there could be an incident that takes place that is going to change the politics of this country like we've never seen. Now, I brought in a couple of articles. I gave you one about the screw job that University of Southern San Diego got exposed in a state appellate court.
Title IX. We've been talking about Title IX, but today is not the day to talk about Title IX. Let's talk about Title IX later in the case. But like you say, is it the Ninth Circuit?
No, this is a state appellate court.
Oh, state appellate court.
It's a state case.
Really questioned the University of San Diego about the due process they afford.
How they conducted their investigation and arrived at a finding.
Right.
Now, and I've been talking about this on previous shows, that the War Department was changed to the Defense Department, and the Welfare Department was changed to the Department of Health and Human Services because it's easier for the public to swallow, okay? This one is Washington State to stop calling prisoners offenders. Now, it says that I want to get it right.
Oh boy, did you hear? Did
The
you know,
department-
did you know that? I just saw that on the internet. That
What?
Janet Reno just died.
Yeah.
I did not know that. Okay,
Yeah,
go ahead.
she's with David Koresh now.
Yeah.
Okay. The department started using the word offender in the early 2000s after dropping the word inmate. In other words, when you refer to somebody, don't call them an inmate, call them an offender. It sounds better. To describe prisoners, whether in prison or on release or supervised in the field. Okay. This label has now been so broadly used that it is not uncommon to see it used to describe others, such as offender families, offender employees, or services. Now, they don't want to use the word offender. They want to use the word individuals.
Wow, that's a long word. You know, it's like, yeah.
No, but what I'm saying is...
Individuals.
What I'm saying is...
Individuals.
I know. What I'm saying is...
We all get it.
Right.
We get what you're saying.
So, but no, it's like a man should not be a man. He needs to be more like a woman. And a woman shouldn't be a woman. She'd be more like a man.
Well, let me keep up with this. You know, in Connecticut, and I'm sure in every state, because if Connecticut does it, I don't know why other states wouldn't. If Connecticut gets away with it, I don't know why other states wouldn't try it. Inmates, I don't know what.
Offenders. No, individuals.
Okay, individuals in state-run facilities are charged $100 and some people say $145, but I did a calculation one time where it was $168. Between $145 and $168 a day to be in jail. You are charged if you go to jail. So,
nobody says that when they say the fine is $1,000, but you're going to pay $168 for every day you're in jail in addition to that.
So I think that since they are paying for their room, they should be called guests. They're like hotel guests.
What a great idea.
Our guests.
What a great idea.
That word's a little hard to say, though. But our guests. Is it hard for you to say or just...
Guest?
Guest?
Yeah, they're our guests.
They're our guest. Guest number 407112.
Our tenants.
Our tenants. Yeah, no, seriously.
And if they want to stay, you got to evict them to get them out.
But I truly think, I've been in prisons, and I've been in some blocks in two prisons. Usually when you visit people, though, there's the visiting room. And it does not look like they get what they're paying for.
No, they don't have 300 count sheets.
I mean, you can stay at a Fairfield Inn, run by Marriott for, $89 to $109, depending on where it's at.
And get a decent breakfast.
And get a breakfast, and those are a lot nicer than the cells that these people are provided.
Right. So, words.
Guest number.
Words. They're trying to stroke us with words. Now, I have another one, and this one dealt with...
Well, lawyers kind of do that,
in
too,
Philadelphia, and that's a heavily Democratic area. Philadelphia files to stop the transit strike for Election Day only. In other words, the governor of Pennsylvania, I guess, or the mayor, or whatever, wants to go to court today to get the court to order the bus drivers to go to work during a strike tomorrow so that they can get people to the polls. Okay? Now, you have to really be able to read the article that they've gone on strike about 6 times in the past, recent past. The strike lasts from 4 to 6 days, sometimes for a couple of weeks. The city of Philadelphia knew that their contract was going to come up for renewal.
Okay.
And they knew that after the contract expired or whatever, there was going to be a period of the election that was exposed to a strike.
Yeah.
And they just sat back. And the people went on strike. I got to tell you, if I was a transit worker in Philadelphia...
you can look at it the other way, too. The transit workers knew, and their union representatives knew that an election was coming up. And they knew they might have more leverage because,
Well, you know what I've always said? I've always said this. We had nursing homes that went out on strike, and the court ordered them to go back to work. Well, I think that the court should have the right to order them to go back to work. But they should be paid what they're demanding while they're working, because once you go back to work, nobody's got an incentive to pay you anymore. So you say, okay, we're going to cut the baby in half.
Well, okay, yeah, but then what if the negotiation doesn't result in that higher payment? So the difference between
That's the cost of it.
No, you put it into escrow for them to get it. Otherwise, they'd have to pay it back.
No, you ordered me to go back to work. Because I got to tell you, if I was a transit employee in Philadelphia and some court told me I had to go to work tomorrow when I'm out on strike, I'd say, fine, I'm calling in sick. Now, what are they going to do? They're going to call me in? They're going to do? No. There's 5,000. Hold on a minute.
I think they have rules about
4,700 workers went on strike just after midnight last Monday, after it was unable to reach a contract agreement with the Southeastern Pennsylvania Transit Authority. Buses, trolleys, and subways that provide about 900,000 rides a day were shut down. Okay, so they're out on strike. Leave it alone. Let it play out.
I can't imagine what everybody does when the bus drivers go out on strike. I mean, a lot of people rely on bus transportation.
And that is the pressure on the employer to come to the table and not dig your heels in, because things like this occur. Now, next one.
Oh, boy, you're on a roll today, Ed.
Armed home invaders who got shot by their victim sentenced to prison. Now, this is by Dave Owens, Hartford Current. 2 men from Lawrence, Mass., who threatened to kill a Hartford grocer during an armed home invasion last fall, who got shot after the victim opened fire with his own, now listen to this, licensed handgun. Handguns are not licensed.
What is that, a licensed handgun? What is that?
Received long prison sentences Friday in Superior Court in Hartford. So, one guy was shot and he's in a wheelchair. And his lawyer says, well, can you give him kind of ask the judge to give Matthias some consideration since he suffered serious physical injuries in the incident. Too bad, asshole. You went into somebody's house in a home invasion to rob the guy and put a gun to the back of his head, and when you weren't looking, the guy took his gun and shot you? Rot in hell.
Well, I wonder what their histories were, their criminal histories. That would be interesting to know as well.
Now, yesterday I got a text message as soon as this happened. We have an individual in Hartford, Pedro Rivera, from American News, who contacted me as soon as this incident came across.
This one we're talking about here?
This one right here. Now, you live in Hartford. You live in what in this article is referenced as a quiet neighborhood.
Well, let's go back to this one. Did the guy get any consideration for that?
I don't think so.
It's hard. Yeah.
I don't think Judge Carl Taylor gave him any consideration.
I was just looking at who the judge was, too, and I'm thinking that argument didn't go very far.
One got 11 years, 7 months. The other guy got 11 years, 3 months.
Judge Carl Taylor was a career prosecutor in Hartford.
Right. So now we come down to this one. And this information came to me immediately. We couldn't get to the incident in time.
You?
Pedro Rivera or I.
Okay.
We were both unable to get there.
I thought you meant me.
A 10-year-old girl shot in the face on Branford Street was undergoing surgery at Children's Medical Center Sunday night, Hartford police said. Now, we know who now Lieutenant Paul Cicero is. He was the first guy at the CompStat that got up. That they were notified about 3:45 p.m. via ShotSpotter of gunfire at 247 Branford Street.
Well, that sounds like a success story for ShotSpotter there. That sounds like what it was intended for, and that it worked. You mean it sounds like ShotSpotter identified it before anybody even called in?
Possibly.
Wow.
A few residents who said they lived in the neighborhood drove up and down Palm Street asking what had happened, but none stayed very long. Several said the area was a very quiet neighborhood.
We got to go.
Up.
See, we're going to continue this tomorrow morning.
Or tomorrow night.
Or tomorrow night, but we'll be here tomorrow.
We'll be tomorrow morning.
Have a good Monday, and plan on voting tomorrow.
Carry a gun if you go to Hartford.
Only if you're not prohibited from doing so, and have
don't
a
carry it
permit.
into a school to vote.
Okay. Goodbye.